So anyway, it's recording now, and this is our review that we're having, and it's over solving multi-step equations. All right. You see the attached PDF in your classroom. It's the only document that I have attached other than the video here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work through maybe 3 or 4 examples, and the ones I've picked so far will be problems 1, problems 3, and problem 17. Okay. And, they go from fairly easy to, kind of hard. So you might want to go ahead and pause the video and go replay it when you are looking at these examples if you get to a spot that's problematic for you. All right. So let's take a look at the first one. This is number 1 on your PDF. I'll write it down. It is negative 20. I'll write negative. I'm going to put 1 up here. So it's negative 20, and we have equals negative 4x minus 6x. Okay. All right. And that's your equation. And when you solve an equation, what you're doing is you're getting the variable by itself on one side of the equal sign or the other. All you got to do is say, hey, if my variable's on the right side, I want to move all the numbers to the left. And, vice versa. If my variable's on the left, I want to move them all to the right. All right. So if you take a look here, you'll notice that your variable is on the right side. All right. You actually have 2 of them. You've got a negative 4x, and technically that's a negative 6x right there. Right. So sometimes you like to switch them over to, making addition problems out of everything, plus the negative, or you can leave it as subtract 6x. It doesn't matter. Right. I like to make them all like little plus signs between them and change the sign. That way I know what I'm dealing with. I know that I have a negative 4, coefficient in front. I have a negative 6 coefficient. All right. So let's combine these like terms. All right. They're like terms because they have variables that have the same exponent. That's an x to the first power on each of them. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this negative 4x and we're going to add a negative 6x and see how many negative x's we have. All right. So, if you have a calculator, you would just basically add the coefficients. You would say negative 4 plus negative 6, and, that would be negative 10. Don't forget the negative sign there. So if I have negative 4x's and I have negative 6x's more, then I end up with negative 10x, and that's across from negative 20. All right. So let's see what we just did. All right. Nothing happened on the left side, so the negative 20 sort of drops down, just waits, until it's, involved in the process. But we took these 2 terms here and we combined them to get the negative 10x. All right. So we're at our second step. Now we still have a number over here with the x, and it's a negative 10. And anytime you have a number and a variable just pushed up against each other, they're multiplying. Okay. Well, that's important because when you solve an equation, you just do the opposite. I used to tell my pre-algebra and algebra 1 kids that you don't really solve an equation so much as you let it solve itself. You just do opposite operations up until the variable's by itself. All right. So what I want to do is I want to move this negative 10 to the other side of the equation. I want to move it over there. I want to move that negative 10 over there to the left side. And, I have to sort of know how to do it. So if you're not sure what to do the opposite of how it's attached to the x. If it's attached to the x with multiplication, what would the opposite of multiplication be? What would it be? What would it be? Division, yeah. So you don't have to worry about being heard because this directional microphone, it's only going to pick me up. So, as long as you're not screaming, it's not going to hear you. All right. So we're going to divide both sides by that negative 10. All right. So just go ahead and draw your fraction bar. You're going to divide it that way. And there you go. All right. I'll give you a chance to kind of, catch up with me there. All right. So when you divide a number into itself, this is the cool part. That negative 10 is going to divide in that negative 10. And a lot of people say they cancel out. Well, really what happens is they divide into each other one time. And you get 1 times x divided by 1. Well, that's just going to be x. All right. Or if you just say cancel, then you would say, hey, it canceled out. All right. So the negative 10 is gone. And over here, you have to actually carry out this division. You've got a negative 20 divided by negative 10. Now, again, if you're to the point, in your math career where you're having to use a calculator, I'm not going to stop you. But you would punch that in and get your answer. All right. If you're kind of old fashioned like I am and you try to do them by yourself, you would say, hey, when I divide a negative into a negative, same signs in division and multiplication, give me a positive answer. And how many times will 10 divide into 20? 2 times. All right. So this one, the answer for it would be 2 equals x. And if you're one of those people that has to have the variable on the left side, you could say that x equals 2. All right. Now, if I had my controls visible on my screen here, I don't know where my controls for my recording are. They're hidden on some tab somewhere. I'm clicking through all the tabs on my other screen, and I can't really seem to find the thing for screencastify. It's hiding from me for some reason. So anyway, it's gonna be fun stopping this video. I'll tell you that without having the controls. But if I start playing with just clicking on stuff, it will stop. All right. So anyway, here's the first problem here worked out. All right. And to recap, we basically just got the variable x by itself using opposite operations. All right. What we're going to do next is we're going to do problem 3. So let me clear the board off. And I'm going to put problem 3 up there. Number 3 is a little more involved. All right. 3 has 8x minus 2 on the left side. 8x subtract 2. Let me fix that 8 there. Oh, that 8's kind of messed up, but that's all right. And on the right side, we have negative 9 plus 7x. Negative 9 plus 7x. All right. So I'll give you guys a chance to kind of digest that. And so what we've got here, if you'll notice, is we've got variables on both sides. All right. I've got an 8x on the left, and I've got a 7x on the right. And when you have that happen, it's better just to go ahead and say, I'm going to move all my x's to the left side or the right side. Okay. Now, there's a trick to this. If you take the smallest valued x and move it, you won't have a negative that you have to deal with in your x coefficient. All right. If you're lucky. All right. And most of the time you are. So what I'm going to do is you got to look at the 8x and the 7x and determine, say, hey, which one of these has a greater value? And you're probably going to tell me, well, until you know what x is, you don't really know for sure. And you'll be right. But let's think of it as slices of pizza. Would you rather have 7 slices of pizza or 8 slices of pizza? All right. So if you look at it from that point, which one has more? The 8. And now which one has less? Well, the 7. So 7x is probably, for our purposes, going to be less than 8x, the way it's written. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that 7x. I'm going to use opposite operations. All right. Now that's a positive 7x there. Notice they don't have a plus sign, so it's implied. So that's a positive 7x. So what's the opposite of a positive 7x? Negative 7. So put a negative 7x underneath the x's on both sides. All right. Now it works out great on the right side. It's just going to cancel out or drop out. The positive 7x and the negative 7x add up to 0. They just drop out. So you can cross them off. And the only thing left on the right side now is what? Negative 9. Yeah. Okay. So this right side, we've got, we've taken the 7x and we've kind of dealt with it. We're combining it with the positive 8x on the left side. All right. So let's go ahead and do that. If I have 8 x's and I take away 7 x's, how many x's will be left? Well, 8 minus 7 will be 1x. All right. So you can write 1x. Normally, we don't write the 1 coefficient. You can drop down the subtract 2. All right. So some of you is going to just have x minus 2, x subtract 2. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. You can write it like that. All right. So if you wanted to write it like that, that's fine. If you want to leave the 1 coefficient, that's cool too. But it's really not necessary. All right. So look, we've simplified this. Our first equation had 4 pieces. Now we're down to 3. And if we keep moving stuff away from the x, then we will eventually solve this thing. All right. So what number is on the same side of the equation as the x? Well, if you only got 2 numbers to choose from, a negative 2 and a negative 9, which one's over there next to the x? The negative 2 or the negative 9? I'm getting a nod that it's negative 2. So that's the one we're going to move. And we're going to do the opposite. All right. So what's the opposite of subtracting a 2? Adding a 2, a plus. Yeah. So we're going to put a plus 2 underneath the like term. So, we're going to add it to all the numbers on both sides. Okay. So we're going to have a negative 2 and a positive 2. That's going to add up to 0. They cross out. And, the x is going to drop down. And over here we have negative 9 and positive 2. Okay. Now, again, some of you are like, you're on the calculator, you're not going to, stop immediately. You don't have to. So you would punch that in and you would get your answer. Now, I'm old fashioned. I don't always have a calculator handy, so I have to be able to do it. So what I do is I think of it this way. I've got a number war. 1, 2, 3, 4, because the signs are different. All right. The negatives are always going to fight the positives. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, I have a number of war. Who's got more? Who's got more, the negatives or the positives? That's going to tell me what the sign of the answer is. Well, it's got more negatives. There's 9 negatives. And how many more is 9 than 2? 7. So the answer for this problem, and I'm going to box it up, would be x equals -7. Okay. And so that's problem 3 worked out. Now, the last problem I'm going to work is problem 17. I'm going to clear the board here. I'm going to put 17. Now, 17 is a humdinger, and it's going to involve using the distributive property to a degree. So -17 is going to have a negative sign in front of a parentheses. I left a space there for a reason. That's a hint. And inside the parentheses, I have 1 plus 7x. Okay. I'm going to close my parentheses. Now I'm going to subtract that 6 right there. I'm multiplying another parentheses, and that's going to be -7, subtract x, close my parentheses. This one's already trouble, I can tell. And it's equal to 36. The only saving grace to this one is all the hard stuff is all on one side, all right? So it's all on the left side, all right? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to say that negative in front of this, I'm going to treat it like a -1. And anytime you have a number out in front of a parentheses or variable or any kind of expression out in front of parentheses, it means you're multiplying it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use the distributive property twice. We're going to take that -1 that's in front of the first parentheses, and we're going to multiply it by both terms. And we're going to take this -6 that's in front of the second parentheses, and we're going to multiply it using the distributive property. And the distributive property is my favorite property because I get to do this. I get to get my arrows popping. That's right. I'm going to show that I'm multiplying that -1 times both pieces by putting 2 little arrows from the -1 to each piece that's going to be multiplying. Okay. Now, when I do it over here, I'll also get my arrows popping. And I just sort of give myself a little visual diagram there so I can work this problem out better. Okay. So I want to try to get a correct answer every time. So I want to give myself all the little opportunities that I can. So this is going to remind me when I actually do the next step, which we're going to do in mere seconds, when we actually use a distributive property to multiply both of these. And that's what this is. This is the distributive property of multiplication. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and multiply -1 times a +1. Okay. -1 times +1 is going to give us a -1. All right. See that plus sign there? I'm going to drop it down. I've got -1 times +7x. So that's going to be -7x. All right. Now, the next step here, I could change this to plus -6 and plus -x. I'm going to go ahead and just go do it right away. I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to change the sign. I'm not going to make it plus the opposite like some teachers teach you. So you're going to have to get used to me doing it both ways because I know my kids have learned it both ways. So I try to adapt to that. So what I'm going to do at this point here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that second distributive property. And I'm just going to say that's -6 times -7. All right, negative times negative. That's going to give me a positive answer. And what is 6 times 6? I'm sorry, 6 times 7. 42. That's right. All right. Now I'm going to do the second arrow, my blue arrow here. I've got -6 times -x. Again, to find the sign, I just think about the signs. Negative times negative gives me a positive. So I'm going to put a plus sign here. And 6 times x is just 6x. We're almost done with this. You wouldn't believe it, but all the hard stuff's over. The next step we're going to do is we're going to add our like terms, okay? And I'm going to draw little lines to connect up the numbers, and I'm going to draw up lines to connect up the variables, and I'm just going to put like terms. And what we're doing is we're adding the like terms. That's what we're doing in this step. All right. So I'm going to have a -1 and a +42, and I'm going to add them up. I've got a negative and a positive. I've got a number war. Who's got more? Well, in this case, that's a +42. There's more positives than there are negatives. So how many more is 42 than 1? Well, 41 more. All right. So when I combine the numbers, 42 minus 1, it would be 41. All right. I got to quit stuttering here. I need my caffeine. It's in my backpack. I forgot about it this morning. got excited because it's the first day of school and, forgot about it. All right, now let's add up our like terms of our variables. Let's add up our negative 7x and our positive 6x, okay? So just for a moment, let's look at the numbers. Look at the coefficients just for a minute. I have a negative 7 and a positive 6. A negative 7 and a positive 6. That's a number war who's got more. Well, the negatives in this case have more. There's negative 7 added to negative 6. So it's going to be a negative. How many more is 7 than 6? 1. And don't forget the x's, all right? So negative 7x plus 6x is negative 1x. And don't forget that it's equal to 36, all right? Now we're 2 steps away. At this point, we actually get to solve. We get to start moving numbers over the equal sign using opposite operations, all right? So in my experience, it's easier if you just add or subtract things away first. Don't mess with the negative 1 until it's that's the only thing left. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this positive 41 over. And what's the opposite of a positive number? A negative number. What's the opposite of positive 41? Negative 41. So we're going to subtract 41 from both sides, okay? All right. So the 41s are going to drop out on the left side, and our negative 1x is going to drop down. Our equal sign drops down. And now we're just left with 36 subtract 41. Okay, the signs are different. I've got a positive 36 and a negative 41. 1, 2, 3, 4. I declare a number war. Who's got more? Well, the negatives have more. Negative 41 is more as far as absolute value than positive 36. So the answer is going to be negative. And how much more is 41 than 36? Isn't it 5? 5 more? Okay. So there you go. Now the last number we have to move from the x would be that negative 1. How's the negative 1 connected to the x? Uh-oh, the lights went off. Where were you when the lights went off? All right. So how do you move a number that's multiplying? What's the opposite of multiply? Division. So put a division bar, put a fraction bar underneath both of them. Boom, boom. And divide by that negative 1. Divide by that negative 1. And on the left side, the negative 1s are going to drop out and leave you with x on the left side. Okay. And negative into negative gives me a positive. 1 goes into 5 times. All right. So when I box that up, I get x equals 5. All right. So basically, that is the last problem I'm going to work today. Now, all I have to do now is figure out how to shut off this video. This is embarrassing here. This is embarrassing. I'm not sure how to stop the video because the controls disappeared. The controls disappeared, and I'm going to have to make this video over here because the videos are just disappearing here. It pops up and then there it goes. All right, I'm going to hit this. That's not going to help me. I'm going to have to hit another one here. I'm just going to keep hitting buttons here. And the thing is, the controls that I need aren't here. Yes, it finally popped up. I'm going to have to figure this out because I can't have this embarrassment at the end of every one of my videos here. But screencastify is a really cool thing. And who knows, maybe you'll be able to use it to actually explain some of your answers before too long. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and kill this at the 18 or 19 minute mark. I appreciate your attention. I hope this helps you work your problems.